And I'll send that spirit to you, Wayne.
Thank you, Debbie, and thank you, everybody. I know it was mentioned that my name is Wayne Mason. I'm running Buffalo from the Turtle Clan, Brown Buffalo Warrior, and my other name I was given was Standing Strong Earthman. I'm thankful to talk to people and to pass on our messages that I've heard and seen and collected over the years, and have a lot to share. I don't know how much time I have.
You have 2 hours.
Oh no, not that long. But I'll tell you a little bit about who I am and where I'm from, and a bit about Wasay Healing Center and some of the work that we do, and what I've been involved in over the years, and a little bit of my history. And I guess you can tell that I have a voice problem, hoarse voice, but again, that's part of who I am and what I've been through. And so a couple of years ago, I had COVID really bad, and was in the hospital for a long time. But I think that when they were taking out the tube, they damaged my vocal cords. So now I've been having this voice for a long time. Once in a while, it'll let go and be nice and clear, but not very often. So it's like this again today, and I just like continue on with this whole side effects of COVID and what can you do about it. It's just something that you learn to live with and accept, because you're getting upset and mad about it. I mean, not a whole heck of a lot you can do. So you just live with it and try to be happy with it. And so, is that okay? Can I go on now about, okay. I was born in Fisher River Cree Nation, and I spent many years there. I grew up with my grandparents, my mother, and I moved a lot. I spent, a good part of it in Fisher River, but the other part of it was here in Winnipeg, and we were kind of back and forth. I remember reading a book in Native Studies in university, and it talked about the push and pull factors of reserve and city life for Native people. And I said, sound like they read my life. They wrote about my life in that book, because all those things that happened to me was similar to that book, the story in that book about, the push and pull. Like we grew up in Fish River. We didn't have running water or electricity. And so we moved to the city, to live with electricity and water. So we stayed there for many years, and then we went back again to Fish River, and I grew up there again, going to school, and then I left again, and been like that for a good part of my life. Would be spending 1 or 2 years in Fish River, 1 or 2 years in Winnipeg, just back and forth. But it helped me learn about myself and my family and the things that we had to go through. So, and everything has its way of affecting you, and some things affect us that we don't even know about, that you just live with. Is my voice okay? I mean, can you hear me? Okay. Like I said, living in Fish River was the best part of my life, growing up with my grandparents. And I spent probably the first 6 years of my life with my grandparents. And it was like, the perfect life of a young kid. And learned a lot from my grandfather and my grandmother. my grandmother lived to be almost 100 years old, and she was my go-to person. Like whenever I had something to talk about, I had to go to her, and she was always kind and supportive of what we would talk about, and she didn't pull punches. Like if I needed a good talking to, and she'd be glad to give me an earful. I was glad to take it because she was such a wise woman, and when I think of her, like I think of that she was the a Christian, the real Christian in her thoughts and the way she conducted herself and how she helped us, and always a good way of teaching us. I went to church for a long time with her, and even after I left her, went back to my parents, I still ended up coming back to her, and in the early teen years, and again, where I was going to church, and she had a good way of understanding it and explaining it. A lot of people have problems with you know with religion. For her, it was clear, and that's how she taught me. And when it came time for me to learn about the traditional way of life, and we had some long talks, her and I, hours, and she explained how if and she must have known about this way of life, but she was not comfortable in walking that way. But she explained how, same with traditional ways and church ways, was, like, as long as you're trying to be a good person and be careful. She said, I remember one time we had a good long talk about be good to people. Try your best to be a good person. And she said, like if you use this in the wrong way, it could come back and hurt you. Or it could hurt your kids, your grandkids, that I forget what you call it, but it's, like you do something wrong, it's going to come back at you. So she said, be good, be careful. You don't want to hurt your kids. So she was always explaining things, and I remember she was against it at first, I remember we were going out fasting one time, and so we were getting ready for the fast, and we were having a ceremony and a feast. So she understood fasting because it's in the Bible too, and so she was okay with it. She came to the ceremony, and but she didn't know it was traditional, and so she knew we were going to have a feast, and she was all, ready to join in. Then all of a sudden, she heard the drum, and we were going to have the pipe ceremony, and she stopped and she says, "What's that?" And I said, "It's a drum. They're going to have ceremony here." And she says, "What?" She says, "Take me home right now." That was it. I had to go with her, take her home back to Fish River, and no, that's the way she was. And then we talked, over the years, and I would tell her things, and she wasn't, she pretended she wasn't listening, but she understood. And then one time she called me and she said, "Come for lunch." She was staying at the personal care home, which was next door to my office at the education building. And so I went over to the personal care and joined her there. She had a little apartment, and we were going to start eating. And she says, "Wait." So she said, "I got to take my medicine first." And I thought she meant like pills or something like that. So she opens the fridge and she takes out this sealer, and there's traditional medicine in there. And I was thinking, man, she come a long way, from being against it at first to now, years later. But I was thinking, she knew about this before, it was common knowledge before. It's things that have changed since then that turn people away from it. But she knew what we did and what kind of medicine we had. So, my grandmother, my granny, was a big influence in my life, right up until she passed. I used to go back to Fish River just to go visit her and sit and talk with her. And sometimes I hear the same stories, 4 or 5 times, but that doesn't matter. I just love listening to her tell me stories. She had an interesting life, and her family, her mother, on her mother's side, um, they were part Syrian, and there's a big long story for that too. But we're a mixture of Scottish and Syrian and French and whatever, but majority Cree. So in my life, that's where it started, and now I've gone through all the other things in life about going to school. I attended school in Fish River, Peguis, and then later on, I was asked if I wanted to join the Buntep program, the university, Brandon University, and I thought no, I couldn't see myself sitting in a classroom. I was always a outdoor worker. I couldn't sit in the classroom, I thought. And so, but then construction and everything that I did died down. So I had, no jobs coming around. So when they asked me to go try again to Buntep, and I said, okay, I tried it, and they got in surprisingly, as entered as a mature student. And I worked really hard that first year because I was so afraid that, that I wouldn't be able to continue. You had to keep a grade point average and all that as a mature student. So I worked really hard that first year and did really well. I spent most of my time studying, and it paid off. That first year, my grade point average was right up there, and I enjoyed most of it. Some of it I didn't care for, and I wasn't a very good reader. I don't know. I must have some type of a learning disability about reading or something. But even now at work, I don't like reading much. Only when I have to. But in university, that's it's a must. But I got by. I took courses that didn't have too much reading, dropped the ones that had too many books, and so I got through. I made it through the university phase and went back to Fish River. Started working. I wasn't even finished university. That's right too, because Fish River was planning to go take over their education program, and they asked me to help facilitate it. And I said, "Well, I'm not even finished yet. I'm still working on this one course." And they kept pressuring me, and finally, I went and talked to the dean of education. His name was Dale Hayes, and I told him about my situation, and he says, "Well," he said, "you're going to be working with the ex-president of Brandon University, Perkins, Dr. Perkins," and he said, "I think that's an education in itself." So he permitted me to go work for Fish River, and I went back and finished that course later. But the work that I did with Dr. Perkins was interesting. Him and I both learned a lot about education and the reserve and dealing with Indian affairs. And so, especially for Dr. Perkins, he thought everything was different. He thought everything we asked for, we got. We asked for a certain amount of money, he thought we got it. And we had a rude awakening there one time when we were trying to negotiate with Indian affairs on our budget. And we had this real fancy budget. And then Indian Affairs was looking at a different list. And so I asked him, I said, "What do you guys got? You got a prepared budget?" And he said, "Sort of." And then that was it. Dr. Perkins just kind of flew off the handle and left and didn't come back for a couple of days because he was just so shocked that we were treated like that. And so it's a good education for him too, and for myself. And we did a lot of work after that. I went to work for them and for Fish River Education, kind of thrown right into the fire right away because the guy that we had hired as the education director decided in August that he wasn't coming. So, I was probably the most educated of the people at the time, this is way back in the 80s. And so I took over as education director, right out of university to education director. And then we did that for quite a while, almost a year. And then we brought in Dr. Perkins again, and he worked with us for a while till we found somebody else. And every time we brought in somebody, it always worked out that they left halfway through or partly way through. And I took over as education director again. So I was education director probably about 4 or 5 times in my first 10 years of working in education. But my area was post-secondary, and I was a post-secondary counselor for altogether, I guess, probably about 18 years. And then I decided to move and take a job with Manitoba First Nations Education Resource Center, and I was there for a good 10 years. Did a lot of great things with my staff. I couldn't believe after I left, I started looking back at what we had done. And I couldn't believe all the things that we did, like we were so busy trying to hang on to our funding. We didn't want to look that we weren't doing anything. So we did lots just so that we could keep our funding going. And so, there was a lot of work that was interesting but fun. I had a lot of fun working with my staff. We had about 9 of us, and we were all, alike, similar, and we had a lot of fun. It was a lot of laughing, but a lot of hard work. I used to scare my staff all the time about some of the things that we tackled, and it was all brand new, like it hadn't been done before. And so when we did something, it was a bit scary. So staff, I would tell them, okay, we're going to do this. And then say, oh no, not another of these ideas, but we got into it, and of course they did well. They were really not afraid, and we worked with all these universities and colleges, and we adapted their programs and indigenized everything. And I had some people, I used to call them my indigenators, and they did really, really good work on changing all the content and learning how to adapt university and college courses. So we did that for quite a while. Then I got kind of tired of the system, and I left it for a while. I went on my own and did contract work. Then I found a couple of friends of mine that wanted me to go do some work with a healing center, setting up a training program there. So I did that for a few years. Then I left there and went contracting again. And then this healing center here, Wasay Healing Center, had a director, a friend of mine, Alvin Chartrand. And after a few years, he passed away, and there was a vacancy there. And I thought about it for a while and decided to try it, and I applied for it. And I've been here now for over 6 years, and it's been amazing. I tell people, that sometimes you find a job that you work at, and you have a difficult time trying to force yourself to go to work every day. Me, I wake up and I'm ready to go, and I can stay here all day and all night if I have to sometimes. And I enjoy this work so much. And it's something that, as an administrator, I've done this for close to 40 years. And so it's not that difficult, but it's the work that we do that is interesting. And I'm always ready for a challenge, but this is more like, something that we need to do, we have to do, and the work that our people do here and other centers. We have other healing centers. There's 10 of us. And I was just talking to my staff a while ago and telling them, there's probably about 150,000 First Nation people in Manitoba. And right now, majority of them are affected by residential school, day school, 60 school, murdered and missing women and girls. And so we have a lot of work to do, and trying to convince government that this is what we need to do and this is how we need to do it is difficult. So many roadblocks and so many, policies and guidelines that try to deter us, try to stop us, slow us down, all that kind of stuff. And over the years that I've been here, it's been one constant battle to maintain the funding. They've tried all kinds of tactics to discourage us. I remember a few years ago, they withheld our funding for 8 months. We didn't have any money coming in, and so I had to run around and try to borrow money and sell things to keep us going for 8 months. And I borrowed money from the banks, the credit union, my friends, all these different ways of trying to find money to make payday. And we just barely made it. Like I ran out of places to ask, and our funding was put back. It wasn't that they were trying to stop it. They just slowed it down, and it was going to come, but we didn't know when. And it's been like that, for the last, I don't know how many years now. I've been here 6 years, and almost every year we're under the gun to make things work and make things do with what we have. And it's discouraging, and it gets me really mad sometimes at the way that they play games. And but we're always hoping that things are going to get better, and then we're gonna fight our way out of this. And that's what I'm doing now. Like I'm planning and preparing to get out of the way of Health Canada and run our program our way, ourselves, for our people. Like, I tell Health Canada, you don't know what we're supposed to be doing. You don't know what we're doing. And when we tell you, you disagree. And so, we need to do things our way because we know what's wrong with our people, the healing that has to go on. And they don't know, they don't understand. It's because we have, in our hearts and our minds of all the things that has happened, and we know a little bit about what we need to do to help people. And we've been doing a lot of that over the last few years, and we first started out with a healing center, helping people with their settlement agreement hearings, and we helped them prepare for it. We helped them go through it, the hearing, and that was discriminating and racist too. But we helped them through it, and now we've come to the point where, that we re-traumatized them all these different things that we had to go through. So now we're stuck healing with our people and trying to find ways of helping them. So we've done a lot in the last few years, and we have plans for more, and it just keeps rolling along. Like we've done a lot of, but it's always done through a ceremony. Anytime we start a program or anything in our office, in our healing center, it's always pipe ceremony, and bringing all our people together, and and we've done so many pipe ceremonies, but that's the way it's meant to be, and that's what we're told to do. And we've done a lot of things that turn out and work out because we did pipe first. We did ceremony and things, like we have lots of examples, like that first year we did a powwow, and we thought, well, maybe about 200-300 people will show up, and sometimes not even. And so we went ahead and did it. We had it at St. John's Park a couple of years ago, and turned out there was over 10,000 people there. There's just that whole park was covered with orange T-shirts. He said it was a big sea of orange, you know, and they had a sacred walk from I think from the Human Rights Museum to St. John's Park, and there was like thousands of people come walking down the street, and they were coming to the park, and they're saying, "Oh no, what are we gonna do? Can we accommodate that many people?" We did, and we had lots of people there, and you know, we had a powwow and lots of people visiting, and there's lots of information handed out, things that we wanted to do, and it worked out like multiplied by 10,000, you know. And so we said we got to be better prepared next time. So we did. We set up at the convention center, RBC Convention Center, and you know, big rooms, and it was, we thought it was the best that we had, what we could offer. And then people showed up. I mean, we had over 7,000 people in the building and 3,000 outside the building and on the street wanting to get in. So that was terrible, you know. I felt really bad for those people that are waiting outside. You know, when you want to get into something that's really good and you can't, imagine the frustration that they were going through, you know. And so after that powwow, we said, okay, no more convention center. We can't have it here anymore. So we went talked, and I said, I always wanted to have it in the arena. And a couple of friends of mine said, well, let's talk to the owner, the Winnipeg Jets and the arena, Mark Chipman. And a friend of mine has connections and he knows these people. And so I told him, I'll set up something for me. And then we started planning. And one day I got a call from him and he said, Mark Chipman's going to be at this high school in the North End, Gonzaga. He said, you should get down here right away so you can talk to him. So I wrote up a letter requesting the Winnipeg Arena for the next powwow. I took it down and just made it there. I met Mark Chipman, and my friend introduced me, and he says, you know, he has a question for you. And so I asked him, you know, I said, we've been looking for a place to host a huge powwow for our people. And he said, yeah, I heard about you guys. He said, I know what you guys are doing. You're doing good. I said, sure. He said, I'll help you. He said, you can use the Winnipeg Arena. And I said, oh my. Like, when you don't expect it to be that easy. You know? So I know that there's intervention, you know, at the right time. When you ask Creator for help, for direction, it may not come the way you ask. It may come in a different way. So that is one of those moments. It took me, 2 minutes to ask him, and he replied in 1 minute, you know, like, it's that easy, that fast. And we sat and talked later, you know, about the things that we need to do. And now we're working on that part. We have this year to make arrangements with the arena staff and how we're gonna work together on things. What do we need to know? What we need to do? But it's like we can probably put 20,000 people in that arena. You know, like if you fill that arena right to the brim, you could have at least 20,000. I mean, you could probably have, you know, like 17, 18,000 in the stand and about 2,000 or 3,000 on the floor, chairs. So we're really looking forward to that. The other thing that we do is conferences. We've had quite a few conferences over the last couple of years, and it always works out better than we expected, or better than we thought, or what we planned for. You know, like we started off, you know, 400-500 people. Then the next one was like 9,900 people, and then you know, we've had others since then, and the next one coming up right now, we're getting ready for the next one. It starts next Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday And right now we have close to 900 registrations. And that's not even the end of the week yet. And we have walk-ins that will come on Monday. We probably have too many people, but that's okay. I'll figure something out. No, I won't turn anybody away, especially if they're coming for healing. That's what we got to do. Like I said, there's 150,000 people in Manitoba, and we've only touched a small percentage, and we still have lots of work to do. So that's why I try to explain to Health Can and the government, Indian Affairs, or whoever, is that they've messed us up. All these things that they've done to us, and the residential school, day school, 60 scoop, all those things. We have a lot of people that are still suffering, and they're only starting to come forward now. They want to talk. We had TRC, and it raised a lot of awareness, but there needs to be more work to be done to help people heal, and that's what we're doing. And say if there's 1,000, 1,500 people at our conference on Monday, we just need to accommodate them and help them. And it's amazing, like people calling. Like my First Nation, there's like 40, 50 people will call and say, we're bringing a group. And then today I got a call, we're bringing the elders. There's going to be about 40 elders coming. I said, okay, we better find some more people to help. So he said, no, don't worry, we're bringing our own people to help our elders. I said, great, like we'll help too. But it's like that. Every time we want to do something, whether it's a program or a conference, or we do round dances, powwows, all these things, and we ask, we do a pipe ceremony, we ask for guidance and direction, and it comes and it happens. I don't even have to be here, like it just happens, and my staff will know how to look after this. Like I probably stick around for maybe another year or something, but all I do is come up with ideas and listen to the staff and help them with to guide them a little bit, but they do the work. I'm old now. I can sit back and watch and be the boss and give orders, give direction, and I got people that are great to work with. I have office manager, my son working with the cultural support, and all my staff. Steve McCorster is my office manager, and he just goes ahead and does things and comes and asks me for direction once in a while, and that's how we work. It's amazing that when you go to the pipe, you ask for direction, you ask for strength and guidance, and it does work. I mean, all the things that we do, and it works out way better than we ever expected. So our ceremonies and our way of life is what we work with and help our people to understand that. And we have a lot of people coming to ask for help and guidance in our office. I have 14, 15 staff here, and some days it's like, I don't know how people can be so busy but it gets done. When they had those applications for day school, holy man, we were just overrun with people that are wanting to get their application in right down to the wire. And now I've had a few people ask, because the deadline is passed, can we do something about it and extending that deadline? I said, I don't know. I said, government always tries to manipulate and stop us, but someone at the conference is going to come forward and talk about an extension. So I'm all for that. Like there shouldn't be any deadlines. When Gary McLean started that day school, settlement agreement, that wasn't his intention. All the things that he talked about were coming through, but there's a few things that he disagreed with. He disagreed with someone deciding how much a person is going to get, whether they're eligible or not. That kind of stuff. He didn't want that. And he didn't want deadlines. He said, like people can keep coming forward as long as they want. And that's, like now we've had 2 or 3 deadlines, and that's not what he wanted. Because I've known Gary a long, long time, and we were good friends. And when he was starting to deal with the settlement agreement, and him and Raymond Mason came to the center here, and we sat and talked many times about what we wanted and how we were going to do things. And he wanted me to set up the budget for that. And a darn good thing I didn't do it. Like it's very complicated, but he had a simple way to do things, and it was being honest and straightforward. And it didn't happen that way. Like as soon as you get lawyers involved and people that believe that they know more or know better, it's gonna get rough. And that's the way it is. Like that's what's happened. A lot of our people come to us and they complain about how they've been treated, and they haven't been, like they tell their story and they say, oh no, that's not true. I don't know how people can do that to our people and say that. That's what Gary said. They tell their story, that's good enough. That's all. But no, we're denied, and they send those applications back for the simplest reasons, like you missed a period here, you didn't say this, you didn't put this word in there. So they send it back and we have to do it all over again. That's kind of frustrating. And so, like our people are upset and mad, and I don't blame them. Same thing happened with the residential school settlement agreement. Again,
Yeah, it can be so re-traumatizing, eh, Wayne?
Yeah. Well, that's what's happened. We've been re-traumatized, and that's what we're busy working at that right now. So and this is what our healing center does. We do all these events and things like that. And there's a lot of healing through that. But we also do ceremony here. We do pipe ceremonies. We do naming, finding the clans and the colors. And so that's where people start. And we right now, I don't know how many we've done, how many ceremonies like that, but we still have, like right now, people that have called and registered. There's over 80 people waiting on a waiting list. And so we need to speed up, have more ceremonies, more people that can come and help give names, and to try keep up with that. And that's 81 that's registered. There's still a whole pile of people. After this conference, we'll probably have another 100 or so people that want their name and clan colors. And so that's where they start, and then they move on to other ceremonies. And we have a piece of land outside of Winnipeg, past Headingley, and we have a sweat lodge over there, a couple of sweat lodges, and we have a couple of small buildings for change and for people to warm up. We're also putting up a big building soon. We've got the building in pieces, but we got to put it up now. And then we worked with the province on that piece of land. We had just a small little piece of land there for the building and then for the sweat lodge. So when they had a couple of people come out from the province and looked at what we were doing and what we wanted to do. And the last minute they thought, what about all this other piece of land over here? It looked like farm, like somebody's been taking the hay. And I said, is that provincial land too? And they said, yeah. I said, can we use that land? And they said, what do you need it for? And I told them, I said, well, you never know. I said, we might want to have a sun dance here, or a warrior dance or something. And it's ideal, like it's a nice piece of land, but nobody really uses it that much. So I said, they said, go ahead, use it. So now we got that, and that's just in the last few months. So now we got to start planning for something like that. And people are coming forward, like our building, the owner of the building here that we're in, he's very supportive of what we're doing. and he's got some other ideas for us. And I was thinking, well, if he can bring some of his business buddies along, let's go, do something. So I told, his name is Peter. And when I first met him, when he bought the building from the previous owner, and we talked, and once he understood how I deal with people in a good way, and he wanted to be involved. And I told Peter, I said, Peter, I'm not after your money. I'm after your friends' money, because he's got lots of friends there. And he's always involved in doing partnership agreements with, buying buildings and all these corporations. And so I told him, I said, a lot of people with deep pockets, and we need funding, we need help. I said, we'll come to you, when that time comes for that. So now he just called today, and he has another idea, a couple more ideas, and I said, well, we can look at it. I mean, we got to be careful that we don't expand too fast and too much. But if we can manage, and the thing is, because we're a small organization, we started off with a few staff, and we've grown to like 15 staff now, and we need a couple more people soon. But also we've got to be careful about our administrative structure. We can't go too big and implode on ourselves if we don't have the right structure, and set up a organization that doesn't have a very good base. So we're working on it.
I was going to ask a question, if that's
Mhm.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to just say this program, of course, you and I have known each other for a good many years. And when we talk about the funding, it comes from the Indian Residential Schools Health Support Program and Cultural Support. Can you let folks know that there are a whole bunch of health supports, cultural support programs like this across Canada, and especially Manitoba. And the reason why I'm saying that is many of our folks here today are all over Manitoba, and are always looking for resources. So could you speak about the other programs? Would that be okay as well, that we have such a very great relationship with?
Mm-hmm. Well, right now, we're doing all right. And I hear about all these different programs out there that have additional funding. And I'm sure that someday we're going to have to partner up with other organizations, or find other pots of money. But right now we're doing good. I know that, see, we're working right now as fast as we can, as hard as we can with the staff that we have. I know, and I just mentioned, that we need a good administrative structure. Once we have that in place, then we can start dealing with going out and partnering, and finding other sources, and talking to people that, like, I remember a while back, a couple of years ago, this man from Northwest Company asked if there was something he could do to help. So I told him, sure, this is what we're doing. If you can help in that way, then fine, let's go. And then we have a couple of car dealerships, or a few car dealerships that said they donate. Vickers donated, I think, $2,500 last year, and that's just small pots of money here and there, but they add up. When we run into something where we need a little bit more funding, that's where those come in. But I'd like to go after some of these corporations and say, like, if you really want to help, if you really want to see our people advance and get healthy and well again, this is what you can do, and this is where it'll go. Because I really believe in accountability and being financially smart, and that's one of the things that I need to show government, that we're good managers, and we have the capacity and the people to do it now. and we have lots of educated people, and not to worry about, us scamming or doing something illegal. No, we want to prove to everybody, not only ourselves, but to other non-First Nation people, even, like government, and that we're financially responsible, and we have the people to do it. Have like a lot of people I know, like I know lots of people, and a lot of people like that have degrees and experience, and people working for the cause, and a lot of people that sometimes they get caught up in doing the work, but they don't have it in their heart what they're trying to do. So it doesn't work very good that way. So you have to have a lot of times our own people, even they get caught up in becoming a job. It's not a job. It's our work. It's our life work, and so we have to be careful who we work with. Give me some more questions.
So some of the programs that you've been offering at Wasay, drum making,
Yeah.
and the naming ceremonies, which is about that identity, right? That was that impacts of the Indian Act and how the names were taken away, and my own family had their names scratched off and with their name. All of those things, the importance of that.
Yeah. See, my aunt, no, have you ever heard of Verna Jane Kirkness? And she's one of the top educators in Canada. And she's from Fisher River, and she's my aunt. And we always talk. And we haven't talked for a little while, though. But one time she told me, she said, and we talked about this, like how our ceremonies were stopped and all that. And she says, that's only when our culture was interrupted. Now we're back, and we're dealing with all those things. So it's just when our culture was interrupted. So now, we're helping people to understand that it's okay. We don't have to worry about that anymore. I remember in Fish River, I was told that they gathered up all the pipes and drums and rattles and burnt them, and I had to go fasting for that, because my relative was part of that. So I went fasting 4 times in 1 year for that. And things have changed in Fish River, When we first started out having ceremonies and sweats, I thought it was going to take like maybe in 10, 15 years, people will be more agreeable to it, more open-minded about it. Within a year or two, we had more and more people coming to ceremony. I was surprised that it happened that fast. So, there's not a lot of difference between, church and Christians and traditional people and ceremony. We're both trying to do the right thing, and we're both, if we can find a way to work together, and that'd be amazing. Like I have friends that are, in the church, and they're open-minded about what I do and the way I do things, and we can still talk, and we can, compare and do, what's similar and what's different, and we can, when you talk about that, it becomes closer, right? And I have friends that are more open-minded now than before. I remember one year, for example, we said we're going to have a powwow, and we started making plans, and then all of a sudden we heard that the people from the church were going to come and demonstrate at our powwow because they disagreed with it. And then I said, well, let them come then. And so nobody showed up. But excuse me. But a lot of those people were there the following year at the next powwow, and they were sitting in the stands watching powwow, and they were totally against it the year before. See, so things change once they understand that it's not evil and not witchcraft and all that. then they're okay. They start coming around. And like example, my grandmother, she knew about it probably when she was young, but as she, grew older, and she followed the church and went to church every chance she got. Sometimes her and my grandfather would go to 3 churches in one day, but they were strong in their ways. And so, our people are like that. They were told for many years that it was evil and not good, and witchcraft and all that, black magic and all that. So it scared the daylights out of our people. And so they start, leaving the ways, our culture and our ceremonies. But now it's okay now. It's starting to become more comfortable, and people are more confident in themselves, that they can make up their own minds and they can do what they want. Before it was, you had to follow, you had to do it this way. And they were scared into it, and forced into it. So now things are a little bit easier for young people, coming forward. It's interesting. And I'm glad that I lived through that. I went from that to this, and my family has followed me. My boys, I have 6 boys, 1 daughter. She doesn't follow ceremony, but she understands it. She's been through it. But all my boys have been sun dancers. They're still dancing, and they're still helping out. See, when I grew up, I grew up hard and tough, and I drank a lot. I fought a lot. I mean, I'm just skin and bone right now. COVID took all my muscle. No, I was kidding. But when I was young, in my later teens and early 20s, and I was not so good. I drank a lot, and I partied a lot, and did bad things, and and my kids started to see that. So I thought, I better slow down, because they're watching and they're continuing in that way too. So when I started going to ceremony, and I started cleaning up my act, and and I said, okay, no more of that, no more, being this terrible drunk. So my kids start to see that, and they see me change. So they follow this way too. And a lot of their friends, also see that. So it has a ripple effect. Like my cousins, my kids' friends. I'm just like, I see on Facebook, a couple of my kids' friends are saying, "Well, that's it. I'm not drinking anymore. Or some of them will say, "Well, I've been sober 4 years now." So it's making an effect. And I never realized that when I was going through. I was just worried about trying to heal myself first, and then it took me a while, and then after that, you start seeing, I talk to young people, and I tell them, if I can go from that to today, anybody can do it. A lot of those young people, they tell me, oh, we're still partying and drinking. I said, yeah, you guys are nothing. I said, compared to what I was doing, and so, I'm lucky still to be still alive. I'm going to be 69 this weekend. And so I went from, like late 30s, 40 to now. And I never thought I'd be alive this long, because I totally abused my body when I was younger. I started drinking when I was 10, 11 years old. And, a little bit, just having a sip here and there. But like in my teens, I was just full-blown alcoholic already. So going through the 20s and 30s, man, and I never thought I would live past that. When I got to 40, I thought, oh man, it's amazing. Got to 50, I said, oh, this is all bonus now. Like I shouldn't even be alive. And then 60, I'm almost 70 now. And so Creator has been very lenient on me and helped me through a lot. like when I went through COVID, you know, I was in a coma for a long time, and then I had to rebuild my life, my body. I couldn't even talk when I came out of the coma, and I couldn't swallow, couldn't drink, couldn't eat, couldn't walk. I remember getting out of bed. I thought I could be able to stand up. I was in the bed for so long. I thought, oh, you know, gotta get out of this. So I stood up and I fell down. I didn't realize I couldn't stand up. They had to pick me up and throw me back in bed again. So it took me a long time to go through physio and therapy and to be able to walk so I could go home. I wanted to get out of that hospital so bad. I remember one time I was mad in the hospital and I phoned my son 3 o'clock in the morning. Come and get me. I want to get out of here right now. So he was wondering what is going on. And he phoned the hospital and they sent somebody down to come talk to me. And they talked me into staying. And I realized that I couldn't leave anyway. I had to learn a whole bunch of other things first. So eventually I got out, but you know, I'm still going through it. I still have the side effects and long-term effects, and but it's a part of life, eh? And I'm working through it. You know, go through these ups and downs, and sometimes my legs don't work very good, but I'm starting to get stronger. A month ago, I got this flu, and again, it affected my lungs, and that's what COVID did. And so that flu kind of scared me for a bit there because I had a hard time to get oxygen and strength, and I could only walk a little ways. I'd be tired. I had to lay down again. So I've gone through that again, and now I'm feeling better. I'm able to walk. I'm up and down the stairs now, and I feel good. You know, there was days there where I had no strength, and but you know, I guess I'm going through it again. But I feel a lot better the last few days. So you caught me on a good day, Debbie.
The tobacco is the power. I just thought maybe, should we ask folks if they'd like to ask some questions here?
Yes, please.
All right. Do any of you have any questions? You can post it, or if you would like to show and speak with your camera on, absolutely. Let's do that. Any questions, folks, here? I think it's just wonderful, how WASE is there for all of the people in regards to the day schools, and then now recently the Indian residential schools day school, where they went to the schools at the those day schools we used to support. That compensation is now finally working its way through,
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like the compensation for day school and residential school is only the tip of the iceberg, and there's going to be a lot of other, you know, I heard of a few that are planning to launch other class action lawsuits because of the effects of residential school and day school. Like, you know, like parents should have a class action lawsuit because they lost their kids, you know, they lost their family, and it's hard to recover from all that. A lot of people haven't, and they go to their grave with all that sadness. It's not right and not fair, you know. And people like we get thousands of dollars for compensation, whereas some places people get millions, you know. How can you compensate people for the torture and all the residential school effects? Man, you know, like it's just unbelievable, some of the things that happen in the residential schools. And we get these piddly little amounts of, $10,000. That's nothing compared to what affected our lives, and our parents' lives, and our kids. It's just, like I told Indian Affairs and I told Health Canada, I said, you guys really effed it up. You messed it up really bad. Now we're coming back to try to straighten it out and try to fix it. And you give us a hard time for that. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves for all the work that you spent trying to kill us, off, and we're still here. And we're trying to help ourselves, trying to help our people to heal. And you don't want to cover the cost of that. They should be pouring money into this to help us get out of under this huge problem that we have. And it can be done. Our people, you can see some people surviving, and learning to heal and to feel good about themselves again. It's amazing, but it's going to take a while. It's going to take a long time. Like I said, there's 150,000 people here in Manitoba that have to deal with all this, and we're only scratching the surface. And we need millions and millions of dollars to straighten out this mess. And it's not just, the healing part. It's like the justice system, the child and family, and, all the problems that we run into, drugs and alcohol, addictions. We got a lot of work to do, and I was telling my staff and our people there, and I said, well, we can't go into the justice system or the child and family or all those and working there to straighten that out. I said, but we need to prevent people from going in that direction. That's what we do. We do all this work here. And so we prevent people from, hopefully not going into the justice system, like jails and penitentiaries.
Mm-hmm. Are there still some of the health support programs up in the Paw or Flin Flon and Thompson? Because we do have folks online here that are with us from those areas that they may be able to access.
Yeah, I'll just tell you some of the places here.
Okay, great.
Like I said, we have 10 healing centers in some of these communities. St. Teresa Point, Cross Lake, Cree Nation, that's the PAW, OCN, Southeast Reserve Development Corporations, SRDC, that's on the southeast side of Manitoba, Keewatin Tribal Council, the Aboriginal Healing Wellness Center, West Region, us, and we're trying to find more people to help get involved. And we need to, like, we're trying to grow all those 10 centers. Like we've expanded from 4 to 15 now, and a lot of the other centers are starting to, hire more staff and more programs. Like we have almost like all week something happening every night. There's different programs, like we have drum making, and we have sweats, and then we have ribbon, skirt and shirt making, and that's really busy. Like people just love coming to make their skirts, and we had regalia, people making their powwow regalia, putting on the ribbon, no, not ribbon, those jingle dress, making some beautiful dresses there. And then we have different workshops coming up. Once we provide enough drums, we'll start something else. And then we took over the main floor of this building. It's about 4,000 square feet, and we want a youth program in there. So we talked to somebody from Manitoba Youth Center, and he was saying that they do good work there, while they're there. But as soon as they get out, they're back into what they were doing before. So it's almost like a revolving door. So we said, well, okay, we'll run a program here where they come out from NYC or wherever, and they come into our program. and then we'll help them continue with ceremony and learning about themselves and feeling good about themselves. So that whole main floor will be a youth program by March, because we're renovating it now. And then we have other ideas, other plans. You know, I thought about before I went to the hospital, I had a building that I was going to turn into a detox and treatment program, and and put a cultural component to it.
Yeah.
So that's where I was going to come in as a cultural component. We are going to take over the whole building though. Then I went and got sick and I ended up in the hospital. And I was there for a couple of months and I come out and all changed. But they're coming back and asking for some help on getting that started. We also got an ask or a call from this organization that's talking about helping. What did I do? Are you still there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
I'm still here. We're still here. It's
What
okay.
happened? Okay, but anyway, there's the McLaren Hotel.
Mhm.
We took a tour there one time, and there was these people living in those rooms, and it's just terrible. You know, like it's gross. And but so there's this group of organizations that want to fix it up, and we said we would help. And they were going to start renovating the building 2 floors at a time. So we're just waiting to get in there too, because we'll bring in the cultural component and our ceremonies. Help people. Not everybody there will probably, agree or come along with us, but from the people that I talked to there's a lot of people that want to start changing their lives too.
Right.
Because they're stuck, Then, oh man, it's just so depressing when you go through there. See people living in that squalor, and it just makes me sick.
Yeah. I had the opportunity back in December to come and see you at the round dance. Oh my goodness. There were young people. There was elders there. It was just, it was so wonderful to see so many people come together and celebrate dance.
Yeah, that's a big healing, And we started off with about 100 one time in the school, community center.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't big enough, so next time we had a bigger room. We went to the Victoria Inn, board one of their rooms, and it's gotten bigger ever since. The last couple of times we had a round dance, there was over 500 people there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And same with the Orange Shirt Day walk.
Yeah.
It is grown, and you're part of that with the groups and just, it welcomes all peoples, the nations together to come and honor and to not forget the remainder of the year of the children.
See, like all these things, we just have to remember what we did there, and how good it was, and how good we felt, and how people were laughing and smiling. It's amazing.
I'd just like to ask if there's any other folks that would like to ask questions. Wayne is just so open and just a great guy, and just a very good time to sit and anything that you want to know.
Yeah, ask away.
Ask away.
If there's no questions, then I must have answered them all.
You can ask with your turning on your video. No question, anything you need to know. Remember, I'm always open, and it's about that kindness, and this is your opportunity to make which everyone.
I have a question really quick. I know you mentioned that there's support to folks for completing those settlement documents for the day schools, and there was for the residential schools. I know that there's some settlements coming up for CFS and children who were fostered off reserve, who didn't receive the funding that they were entitled to, and getting some support to, I believe that there's a court case. And I'm just wondering, as settlements come through, does your organization just sort of help folks to navigate that system? And is that somewhere we can kind of direct people to get that support and filling those documents and stuff like that?
I'm not sure, we haven't been asked yet to be involved, but that has always happened. I mean, we went to, when we first heard about day school, I went out to, like Gary got me going on it. And then I went out to ask her, say, how is this gonna work out, like, and the lawyers kind of told us to back off. They'll look after everything. But then we ended up doing it anyway, like we end up filling out all those applications that came to us. That was only part of it. Other places were doing the same thing. But we had hundreds and hundreds of people come here. And we still, just till last Friday, I think, they were asking for extension on their, the deadline was July 13th last year. And so we got till January to submit, and so some of them wanted to either reapply or fill out the application because they had certain circumstances that prevented them from getting in on time. So they had till January something. And man, right up to that last minute on Friday about 5 o'clock, we were still filling out applications, helping people, to and that's probably what's going to happen with this. Like there's going to be some settlements going on, and I don't know who's responsible for it, but yeah, we'll help. We'll do whatever we have to do to help our people. So that's part of it. And then, like I said, there's going to be a whole heck of a lot of more class action lawsuits. This is just the beginning, because of all the effects that have happened over the years for our people. Like there's intergenerational, effects. I'm part of the intergenerational effects. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, well, I didn't benefit from anything, that happened. So I need some compensation for that. So there's going to be people like that. And like I said, parents are kind of left out of the picture of the residential school students. And so there's going to be lots of work ahead. I don't know what happened to my camera, but can you guys see me? I can't see myself or anybody here now.
Thank you. We can see you still, or I can.
I don't know what I did. I touched something here. Yeah. Oh well. Any other questions? Or any follow-up to that one question?
There's a question in the chat.
But let me know what does it say? Wait, I'll go get my assistant.
The question is, how can non-Indigenous people be good allies? Oh, sorry about that. I didn't hear that question. I'm trying to get Janine to come and fix my computer again. What did I do? Where is everything? I don't know. What's that? No. Oh, I don't know where you put your Zoom. I think it's right here though. I think I touched something. There it is. Okay. What's that? There. Oh, where is that? You're good. What's this? I don't know. That's somebody. We're recording. Okay. Can you see me again? Hello? Oh.
Sorry. Yeah, we can see you. You're good.
Okay.
So there was a question that was asked.
Yeah.
How can non-Indigenous people be good allies?
As long as they got it in their heart, I'm willing to work with them. You know, there's a lot of non-Indigenous people that come to our ceremonies. You know, right from when we first started having ceremonies, a lot of non-Indigenous people wanted to know about what we were doing and come to ceremony. They wanted to come get their name, their clan, and colors too. You know, and we work with everybody. Almost every nationality came so far.
Thank you. So I am a non-Indigenous person. I'm a settler, and I sometimes wonder, what, you know, how can I be a better ally to the Indigenous people in my community and that I work with and I live with and I interact with, and I often feel uncomfortable attending ceremony unless I've been personally invited, because I often worry, you know, is it okay? Can I be here? And it, you know, as I get to know people more and learn more, I'm becoming much more comfortable. But it's nice to hear that we are welcome to attend, because many of us do want to learn.
Sure, for sure. You know, like years ago when I first started going to ceremony, or 30 years ago, I guess, and I used to go to the ceremony at Dave Crushaine's. I think it started at Hill. We had a place at Hillside, and then he had some at North Selkirk, all over the place. Then it was back at his place at the Turtle Lodge. And one time I noticed, you know, that there was a lot of non-native people there, especially the one in Selkirk. There was like over 100 people, and but 25% of them were non-Indigenous or non-First Nation. And I asked Dave, I said, how come? You know, and he says, you know, he said, he asked that question before too. And he said that in the spirit world, we have fires. Each nationality or group of people have fires. And right now our fire is burning nice and bright and strong. And some of this other people, he said, their fire is going down. And it's not out, but it's very low. So they come to our fire, and they get that energy and that feeling again, and their spirit is strong. And so they go back to their fire and build their fire back up. So that's why, you know, we have a lot of people coming. They wanna be a part of our ceremonies, you know, to help them to feel strong and feel well and healthy again, you know. And you see that a lot of that coming to our ceremonies, it kind of energizes us too, because we feel that, you know, yeah, we're doing good. But when we see other people come and what do you call that, you know, where they justify why we're doing this and all that we're okay, and so they think that ours is good, and that's great. You know, I forget what the word is, but it makes us feel better, you know, that what we're doing and how we can help other people. That's, you know, that's the way it should be. All the people in the world should help each other, and we'd get along better, you know. But when I see people coming to our ceremonies, I feel good, you know, and I'm willing to help them and see them do good, their family.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
There is another question in the chat here, Wayne.
Okay.
It says, is there any form of therapy, individual or group, available to people at Waysay?
Say it again. Is there
Any form of therapy,
Oh yeah.
individual or group, available at Waysay?
Yes, it's Waysay.
Waysay, sorry.
I would have fired my receptionist for saying that. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I'm out in the West and we have Waywaysa Capital, so my mind always goes to
Yeah,
way, not
Wayway.
wa. That's my excuse.
Yeah, there's lots of therapy here, at one point, I was kind of pushing staff away from going into that and finding out about that. And I said, concentrate on the ceremony. Things can go wrong when you concentrate on ceremony. Then they start telling me about how these other therapies work. And I was against it at first, and and then I started asking questions about it. So I thought I must be getting interested in it. So I talked to a few of my staff, and they wanted to go take some training on that. And I said, go ahead, do it. So they come back and they help. And then when they have to deal with some of the survivors that come in and want to talk about healing, well, they have a background in other areas too. They can do a lot of good things. I go to one of my own staff and I asked them for help, so we can talk about some of the issues, and they use their background in whatever they were dealing with. There's a young woman that just came by about a week ago, and she's talking about Reiki and all these different ways of helping people. So I'm going to try work with her about sending people to her. And this woman that just came in to help me fix my computer, she was helped by that woman. She said she's alive because of that woman. She said she had a stroke and part of her face was paralyzed. She couldn't see out of one eye, and she had brain damage. So that young woman that I'm talking about helped her. Now she's got her sight. She's doing working here. She's doing great. So I want to bring that woman on and get her to help us. There's all kinds of help out there. Like this conference coming up, we're going to have cedar bats. So that's something I don't know too much about, but I know it's been around for a long time and it helps a lot of people. So we're going to try and have a couple of people to deliver cedar bats right in the hotel and at the conference. So there's that, and then there's other forms of healing, other therapies. So or if we don't have it, we'll refer it to some place that does know. So we're working along. Like I said, I was against it at first. I said, this is our healing center. We do it from a traditional cultural perspective. But now I'm kind of, listening to the other people, what works. And when this young woman here that helped me with the computer told me about her story, I said, oh man, let's bring her on and get her to help us. Good.
Okay.
Anybody else? Where are you, Tyler?
I'm in Dauphin.
Dauphin. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I wasn't aware that West Region Tribal Council, Tribal Health here was doing some work. So I'm going to have to reach out to them and explore that further. So thank you for that resource for me.
That's Renita Hole.
Oh, Renita. Okay, I know Renita.
Okay, yeah, she's the director out there, or lead. Okay. Like the 10 of us get together. We used to get together monthly before, but now it's kind of whenever we need to,
Okay.
So the 10 of us have meetings here at Wasay and plan to take over the world. No, I was kidding.
That's great that everybody's still getting together. I got kicked out a little bit. Thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I lost you guys for a while there too.
I have a question regarding the day school and residential school monies that are coming and FASD. Unfortunately, a lot of our community have addiction issues. So giving all that much money, regardless of what it's for, like my partner got the money, but no one contacted him about his drinking or, you know, anything like that. So what's your perspective on giving a lot of people a lot of money who maybe haven't had that much money in their life, and there's no supports, and then that in turn, with the increase of children being born with FASD because of the lack of resources, what's your take on all that?
Like I had thoughts and ideas of when compensation for residential school, you know, is coming out, and people are getting large amounts of money, and still with day school, some of them are getting quite a bit. But there was no support, like you said, you know, like I thought, well, why don't we talk to them about investing some of that money or putting in a trust fund or something? Because I heard some horror stories about people walking down the street. I remember this one woman walking down Main Street, handing out $50 and $100 bills. She gave some to her kids first, and then the rest of it, she got 150,000. So I can't imagine how much she gave out. You know, but she was walking down Main, giving out money, handing out money. And I was thinking, like, that money could be better spent, you know, instead of just giving it away. But there's see, if you go back to say prior to all this, you know, like all the genocide and colonization and stuff like that, where did it go wrong? What can we do about it now? You know, like we need to provide more healing centers, more detox and things like that to try to get it back and help people, because you can't go do a whole heck of a lot of, you know, if people are not ready to do it. You know, like all those people in penitentiaries, we want to help them, but some of them are not willing to, you know. So we can help those that want to help themselves, and that, like, I know that FASD and special eds kind of things, that's terrible, you know, and it's so disheartening and so depressing sometimes when you go into a classroom and a majority of the kids are FASD, you know, and in some communities it is, and you know, you can see it, you know, that they're fetal alcohol, you know, affected, and so what do you do? Like, we can't do. We have to try to support those that are affected by it until we can get down to the root of the problem, and it goes right back to, you know, helping young people and helping people that are adults, and getting into the, you know, effects of, well, you know, like drinking and drugs and the negative effects. How do we prevent that? So we have to go back and start them. That's why we do the ceremony, you know. We get people to feel good about themselves and feel strong, and what are ways, and that's what's going to help them. We have to support the ones that are going through it now, but we can't just, you know, forget about what do we need to do about it. So we start off with, that's why we start with naming ceremonies and clan and colors to help them to feel good about themselves, and we hope that they don't go back to, you know, the negative aspects. That's why this whole issue of healing is so important, because we have so many people out there that are struggling, and we need to help them. Can't just forget about them, but we need to help people to get beyond that. And we hope that by helping our young people, we kind of, you know, catch them before they get too far involved or get involved at all. But there's so many people out there that, you know, I walk down the street just over here, and there's a lot of people that are homeless, you know, and they've been doing that all that drinking of all the different substances that they drink, and then they look, you know, and just like zombies, you know, they burnt their brain, or, you know, they just can't help themselves. And what happened? What happened to that person? You know, that person that one day was somebody's kid, and what happened? You know, how did they get into this part? I almost ended up there myself when I was young. And like I said, you know, I drank lots. I did a lot of negative things, and there was a point where I made the choice. You know, my friend and I used to hang around Main Street, up and down Main bars, and he went one way, I went the other, and I went home, and I went back to school and got off the street. He went the other way. He started continuing going down that road to drinking, and he ended up drinking something that killed him. They found him in the back lane over here. So, you know, we were both kids at one time. Then we end up, you know, getting into the drinking, and that's what killed him. So, you know, I don't forget about that. I was that close. So when I tell people, if you knew my life story about where I was before and what I went through to get past that, and now where I am today, you know, I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything like that. I still got lots of problems that I'm dealing with. But, you know, I made that choice back there. I wasn't going to do that anymore. So I've been sober now 29, 30 years. Been sun dancing a long time. So that's what helped me. Go to ceremony, sweats, keep that faith and spirituality up. I remember a long time ago, I went through a rough time, and I went to see Floyd, my elder, my medicine man, and I said, you know, like, I can handle a lot of stuff. Like, I can handle 4 or 5 different things at once, but right now, everything's falling apart. My relationship fell apart. My work was getting on my case, and it was just, you know, just a mess. So I asked him, I said, what do I need to do? Like, and he says, well, first, you know, you need to deal with spirituality. You got the 4 quadrants there, you know. He said, you deal with spirituality first. So he says, you got to go to healing ceremony. So I went, and I got doctored there. And so he said, okay, now look after yourself physically, and sleep, eat properly, look after yourself. And then he said, the other things will start to fall into place. Emotionally, I just lost my mother, so I was very weak that way. So that all came about. And then all of a sudden I felt everything was coming back. It wasn't completely back in order, but it was close, you know, and that's what's happening to a lot of our people. We allow one of those areas to be affected by the negativity and the dark side, and it just raises Cain with all the other areas too. So we got to look after those things. Like spirituality, that's the first thing you do. That's what we work on first.
That's so true. Is the spirit. I always said, you know, like at one of my Sundance, I'm just going to mention this. I received a vision, and the grannies and grandfathers came and spoke about feed the spirit, begin with the spirit. The misuse of substance is untouched by the spirit. The spirit is what will heal and help the remainder of the whole person. And when we feed our spirit, like you spoke about, and but Floyd gave in a guidance, it just balances brings more balance
Mhm.
and the healing begins. I wanted to ask if there was other folks here that would have any more questions from our committee, from, I may have missed it because I got kicked out earlier.
Well, you know, when we're talking about balance, that's why we go to sweats. That's why we go to ceremonies. So you can balance it out again. Sometimes we get too far this way or too far that way, you know. And so you got to find that medium and try to bring, you know, some balance in your life. Because I've been out of balance lots in my life. Even now, sometimes I don't feel balanced, you know. So I got to go to ceremony, got to go to sweat, and they put me back in the right place and right frame of mind, and balance out a little bit. But it's not easy. This way of life, you know. It's not. People think it's a piece of cake or it's easy, you know. And I said, no, hey, I'm dealing with this on a daily basis, you know.
I have a question. In regards, as we go forward, and sadly, the sonar mark ground penetration is continuing to discover marked, you know, graves. And so, what have you been hearing from former students and their children? How? Yeah.
It's bad. It's bad.
The folks.
I was just interviewed by CBC Quebec a few days ago, and they were talking. They wanted to ask me about what I thought about St. Mary's residential school, and they found 171 kids so far, the anomaly. And I told them, well, I have a special feeling about that place because my dad went there, and he went to school with the Kelly boys, Fred and Peter and John, and I talked to them about. Well, I talked to Fred about my dad, and when he went to school with them, and they said that they loved my dad so much that because he was older than them, he saved them from a lot of things that happened in that residential school. He said the boys used to make each other fight, but my dad would protect the Skelly boys and wouldn't let them do that to them. And so, you know, there was a lot of things that went on there at residential school, even the residential schools here in Manitoba, like Bertle and Brandon and all over, you know, the things that went on, terrible things. There was nothing much good about those places, you know. And it's too bad, but yeah, the you know, like I was telling that CBC that we're over 10,000 people right now. We found 10,000 possible graves of residential school kids. I said, you know, there's probably going to be over 20,000. You know, like we haven't even gone through all those. There's only half of the schools so far, you know, and you never know how many people are going to be found there. You know, and I told them, I said, can you imagine people doing that to kids? These are kids, you know, they weren't adults, they're kids. And they did that to our people. You know, when I went to the TRC gatherings, and every morning they would have people that had got up and talked about their stories. And these were adults or old people a lot of time. And I was thinking, you know, like that wasn't happening to them right now. It was happening to them when they were kids, like 5, 6 years old, 7, you know. And I think, my God, you know, how could people do that to kids? And I go talk to groups a lot of times, like I went to RBC, Hydro, and all those places, and MTS and talk to their staff. And sometimes they start crying. And people are coming up and telling me, that I feel really guilty because my people did that to your people. And I said, well, it's okay. We've gone through it, and you might feel guilty, but think about how we can work together and how we can feel good about going forward. And sometimes I get angry, and I think about all those priests and nuns that did all this to our people. I think they should be charged. I think they should be thrown in penitentiaries and let them suffer the rest of their life out. That's when I'm angry. But it does still hurt. Because my grandparents met my parents, a lot of my friends. I'm so thankful I missed out. I don't know what my dad was thinking when he kept moving us around. We would spend time a couple of years over here, a year over here, back again. I missed out on a lot of things. Residential school when they started taking them away, and then when I moved back to Fish River again, and then they got put in schools in Winnipeg, and they haven't even dealt with that part. They had a private home placement, they called it, and they were placed with non-Indigenous people, and the way they were treated there, they were given a place to sleep and eat, but not treated properly. But I missed that again. I missed all these things. My dad must have had some kind of sixth sense or something, that he protected us. But yeah, a lot of my family, a lot of my friends had to go through that, and I feel sad for them, and I'm fortunate that me and my brothers and sisters didn't have that, but a lot of my friends and family went through that. So I can imagine, that we were the same age or close, and they went through it and I didn't have to. Amazing. Yeah, so I told CBC a lot of stuff. They didn't use it in the story, but they heard, and they kept it. They sent me a copy of it. I was saying, I wonder what I said. Like when you start talking about stuff like that, I was getting kind of upset and mad, and I was, oh, that gets me going. But that's a lot of pain and suffering we got to get over.
Yeah, generations of pain. In relation to what you said in regards to what parents did to, like you moved around a lot. My great grandfather, he actually dug a hole in the north, up north, and he hid all his kids in the hole, like a trapping hole, so that when they came around, they weren't to be found. That's what he did. But
a friend of mine, I used to work with her, and she was telling me she was from Ontario. They had a big family, and her dad was always, I guess they were close to the town, and her dad was always going to town to help work over there, part-time or whatever. And somebody told him, I think it was a nurse or a teacher, told him that he should get his family out of there. And so they moved up in the bush, and they were gone for I forget how many months. And she said then they came back and there was no kids left in town, in that reserve. Like all the kids were gone. She said like all her friends were gone because they've been taken away. Things like that happen.
do you know what time it is right now? It's almost 3 o'clock. It just slipped away, and you probably felt.
When you said 2 hours, I thought you were kidding.
Look at you. Thank you. I just want to ask one more question. Anyone in the group that would like to ask a question? And if there are no questions, I'd just like to just give thanks and honor. So I'll just leave it for a second here if anybody would like to ask a question before we close.
I'm gonna start talking about the bad parts of my life. No, I was kidding.
Thanks for sharing, Edith.
Mhm.
Your she's sharing. Thank you, Wayne, for your presentation. Happy early birthday. Ooh, and the birthday cake to boot.
Sometime on the weekend,
God.
I think Saturday, I think my birthday. So I'll be 69.
Oh,
And you know, I could tell stories about how close I came to death so many times. And I'm so thankful to be alive today. You know,
yes.
I went through lots of accidents and COVID and all kinds of crazy stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm thankful to the Creator for allowing me to do this work.
The great work is not finished at all for you. There's so many gifts that you need to bring to the people with your
Wow.
big team and the bigger team of everybody that's coming to you.
You know, when I survived,
I am just
COVID,
so very, mhm.
when I survived COVID, and some of my friends were saying, you know, you weren't allowed to leave yet. You still have lots of work to do. And yeah, you know, so that's one way of looking at it. And but the other one was, they said, you're too green to burn. That's a cheeky guys from Fish River. You're too green to burn, they said. Well,
So I want to just thank you. I want to thank you. Unless Twyla, if you have anything you wanted to add.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you, Wayne, for talking
Mhm.
with us this afternoon and sharing with us and teaching us. I think we all learned lots, and I've had a few private messages as well saying that you're so easy to listen to and that we're learning from you. So I thank you for that. I did want to just let everybody know that on February 10th, we're going to be having another virtual presentation, and we're doing a virtual blanket exercise. There will be a cap on registrations because we can only accommodate a lower number of people that are here today. And so it'll be kind of first come, first serve for that session. So watch for that poster to come out. And if you don't see it, feel free to email the Manitoba FASD Coalition to get a copy of that poster.
a buddy of mine was the one that taught me a lot about FASD, Don Shackle. He works for MFNERC, Manitoba First Nations Education Resource Center. And I thought I knew a little bit about special ed until I started there. Because I came from Fish River and they didn't really have much of a special ed program. But I learned a lot from Don Shackle and the staff over there. And talking about FASD and all those other disorders. And so I thank you for all the work that you guys do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne, for
Mhm.
being here today. Manitoba is shining over and the blessings continue. And the words that you shared today, I make wish for every gift. And I know you as the kind-hearted. Yeah, there you go. We will end with love, respect, honesty, courage, humility, and most importantly, the truth.
Okay. I wore that shirt for you guys. Thank
Is
you.
there anything else that we would like to share for folks that there will be any Kim is going to send out information to as well to all folks here. Again, Twyla, I'll turn this over to you. And
But, I have the conference coming up on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week. It's a survivors gathering, and we have lots of presenters and activities. So It's at the Victoria Inn, all 3 days. And there's ceremony, there's all kinds of things going on there. Speeches, fun. So anybody wants to come, it's open and it's free. We do everything free. We could make a lot of money, but we're not into that. We're into healing. Thank you. There you go, say.
I go say, great. Thank you, everyone. Chimigwe.